Hello everybody, Michael Tyler here with another CarveWright Project of the Month. This month's project for February 2019 is called the Pot of Gold Coin Bank. It features segmented construction. Each part is cut out and carved with your CarveWright CNC, glued together, and then painted a flat black color. To give it the more of a look of a pot of gold, we've got these plastic gold coins available at party stores, Amazon, craft stores, and so on. They're hot glued onto the top, leaving the coin slot for insertion of the real coins hidden in the middle of the pile of gold coins in the pot. On the bottom, of course, we have an access panel so that you can empty your real coins out when the pot is filled. So I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. As usual, we've got the PDF instructions, all of the MPC files that you need, and of course the step-by-step video that follows this introduction. So I hope you'll enjoy the project, and we'll see you soon. We got all the carving done, but before we separate these parts from the boards, we're going to want to number the sections so that we don't get them mixed up during the glue up. Just make it a little easier to determine the order. So on page 2 of your instructions, I've got an illustration of the layout in CarveWright Designer, and it gives the numbers here. So we need to mark these parts before we separate them from the boards, just using this page 2 as a guide. So we've got pot sections 1, 2, 3, and pot sections 6, 5, 4. So I'm going to go ahead and mark these, and I want to mark these on the part that isn't going to be discarded. So I don't want to mark on these center circles. I want to mark it on the part. So using our guide, we got 6, 5, and 4. Okay. And we've got parts 1, 2, 3. All right. So now we keep them in logical order so that we know when glue up time comes that we've got all the parts marked and we know exactly where they go. So the next step will be separate these parts from the boards. Alright, we've got all the parts separated from the boards, and now I'm just rubbing these flats of each section along this piece of 220 grit sandpaper just to remove any fuzzies that might interfere with the glue up. So you want to do that with all of the flat areas on all of the parts just to get rid of those fuzzies that might cause a problem. Okay, so I'll go ahead and sand the rest of these and come back and we'll start the glue up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and glue the lid parts together, and I've just marked them where I want to line up the wood grain like I like. So I squirted out some of this Titebond translucent glue onto a plate, and I'll just brush a layer on. And we'll put these things together and clamp them down, let them dry, probably weigh them down, and then we'll get to gluing together the sections of the pot. Just want to be sure you don't get too close to this slot. That's your coin slot. Okay, I'm just lining this up and I'm going to let it set up a little bit. And before I put the weight on it, I'm going to make sure that this coin slot is aligned from front to back. And I'm just using a end of a paint stick. I can just stick it in there and make sure everything's lined up. So I let that set up a little bit, make sure it's aligned, and apply weight over the top just to make sure that everything is gluing together nicely. Alright, we've got sections 1, 2, 3, and we have the 4, 5, 6. So we'll glue 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 together, and we're going to set aside number 1 because we want to be able to access the interior of this and this as well for sanding on the spindle sander. So we'll just apply some glue on these sections, and in the PDF instructions there is an assembly guide that you might want to refer to so you can see how these go together. So I'm just gluing together the 2 and 3 sections first and spread this glue around to the edges, and then I'll go ahead and glue up the 4, 5, 6 sections together and then glue that to this assembly as well. Okay, I've got, this is section 2 and 3, and I've got sections 4, 5, 6 glued together, so I'm just going to glue these two assemblies together and then apply some weight just to act as a clamp while the glue dries. Okay, we've got our 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections glued up and dry, and I'm just going to use the spindle sander to smooth out the interior and blend the sections together. Okay, we're ready to glue on the section 1, which is actually the bottom of the pot. So I'll turn this pot over and I'll glue this section 1 centered on that section 2. Most of the sanding being done on the outside of the pot is going to be done by hand. I'm going to start with this aggressive 60 grit paper, then probably go to a 120, 150, and then use the 180 grit sanding mop from CarveWright to kind of finish it off. And then probably do some hand sanding with a pad or a block with some 220 grit after that. I like this coarse 60 grit because it helps to blend in the seams and get rid of the tabs pretty quickly. Okay, before we glue the pot lid or the pot rim onto the pot, I want to go ahead and seal the inside since it's accessible now, and it won't be accessible once I glue that on. So before we go through with the glue up, the rest of the glue up and the final finishing, I'm going to go ahead and just finish the inside with a couple of coats of the thinned seal coat. And I'll let that dry and come back and we'll go ahead with the rest of the project steps. Okay, I've sealed the inside of the pot and I cut on my bandsaw just a scrap piece of 1/8 inch thick ply, and I want to drill some pilot holes in the corners here to affix that coin cover. So I'm just going to draw the inside, trace the inside of that circle. That gives me a guide for my pilot holes. Ideally, you'd want a number 4, I'm using number 4 screws. Ideally, you'd want a number 4 countersink, but I cannot find my number 4 countersink anywhere, so I'm just using a small drill to get these pilot holes started in the ply. Okay. Just place that there. And I'll fasten one of these screws in place just to kind of keep things together while I drill the other 3 pilot holes. Okay, it's time to glue on the top part of the pot. I'm just running a bead of glue around here, and we'll eyeball the pot top to get it centered there. Just spread this out a little bit, and I'm just turning that around a little bit to see if I'm centered. Looks pretty good. Okay, I'll let that set up just a little bit before I put the weight on top, just to act as a clamp. So I'll apply this 5-pound weight after this sets up just a little bit more. Okay, this has been drying with the weight on it for about 30 minutes, maybe a little less than that, and I'm just removing some of that glue squeeze while it's still kind of rubbery, and all I've done is taken a drinking straw and creased it, and that helps to dig out glue squeeze and crevices. A lot of you guys already know this trick, I'm sure. Anyway, it'd be next to impossible to remove that glue squeeze if I let it harden up all the way, so the trick is to catch it when it's just turned rubbery and get that straw in there and dig it out. Okay, I'm just applying some seal coat to the coin cover panel and also the inside of the lid for the pot. I just went in here and sealed that inside, and I'll apply 2 or 3 coats of thin seal coat overall on the pot just to seal the wood before the pot is painted. That'll help keep the paint from absorbing too much into the wood if I seal it first. Alright, so I'll go ahead and finish this up, and then we'll come back and go on with the rest of the finishing process. Okay, I've got the box all sanded and sealed and everything, so I'm ready to put on some of this black acrylic craft paint. I've already painted the bottom so that it's already dry. That'll just give me a place for a handhold. And you notice I did not paint the inside here where the coin cover goes. That's optional, you can do what you want, but I just decided to leave that as is. So I'll just squirt out some of this black craft paint on a paper plate, and I'll give this an even coat of black all over. And I'm not too concerned about coverage right now. I just want to give a nice even coat, and then after that dries I'll take a look at it and see if I need to apply another coat or 2. Okay, so once I get this all painted up, I'll come back and we'll continue on. Okay, I've applied 2 coats of the acrylic flat black paint, and just to finish that off and give it more of a protective surface, I'm going to apply several light coats of this Krylon clear flat. Okay, we're ready to put the finishing touch on our pot of gold coin bank. We've got these plastic gold coins. I just poured out a bunch in a bowl so they're handy. I'm going to glue these into the top, and of course leaving the coin slot clear so you can put a coin in there easily, and I'll affix those with a hot glue gun. You could use epoxy or maybe even clear silicone, but I think the glue gun is definitely the fastest and it's probably the least messy. Optionally, I thought about making some fake gold nuggets, and I just made a few just as an experiment. These are just tightly crumpled bits of foil, then spray painted gold, but ultimately I decided to go with just the gold coins. So I'll get started and gluing these gold coins on the top here, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. All right, everybody, the project of the month, pot of gold coin bank, is all done with our glued in gold coins with our hot glue gun. If you notice any threads left over from pulling away that hot glue after it's cooled, just take some tweezers and peel those off, and you're good to go with that. So the only thing really left to do is to put our bottom cover back on, maybe some silicone feet or self-stick cork to protect table surfaces. So I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope you enjoyed the video, the PDF instructions, the files, and I'll look forward to speaking to you next month with another CarveWright Project of the Month. Michael Tyler here. Until next time, happy carving!